are going to be having a session with the PR chick, the one, the only, the amazing Naomi Garrick. Ladies and gentlemen, she has been in public relations and personal branding for over 15 years in public relations and marketing. She's also the lead PR chick, as mentioned, and founder of Garrick Communications, a boutique PR agency based in Kingston, Jamaica. Please put your hands together and give her a warm welcome to the podium.
Thank you so much, everyone, and good morning here in Jamaica, and I'm not sure what time it is in India, but hello to everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here to share with you. So what we're going to talk about is how can I stand out in an online world? So evidence supports the importance of the personal brand. 65% of all internet users trust online search as the most important source of information about people and companies. So what that's really saying is that if you don't have an online presence, then you're not even being considered in the conversation for whatever it is that you're doing. So it's so important. So I know we're going to touch on personal branding in general, but I really want to focus on the importance of having a visible online brand. So what do you need? You need a compelling personal brand and a significant platform. I'm sorry. So what is personal branding? Personal branding is very simple. It's you. It's being your most authentic self. It's how you present yourself to the world on and offline. It's what makes you unique, what makes you different. What are you the expert in? Joma spoke a little bit about that when he answered the question about the hospital. What is it that differentiates you from everyone else? And what I find very important is how do you add real value to your community? So it's not really just about selling something. I went to a Tony Robbins conference and he mentioned something like, people are not in the business of buying goods and services. They're in the business of buying feelings and emotions. They want to feel a real connection with you, the individual, and with your brand. So that's really important. It's how you add value and how do you form real connections with your community, the engagement. And the most important thing is, it's not just what people say about you when you're in their presence. It's more important what they say about you when you leave the room. How do people refer to your brand? What are words that they use to reference you? It's how do people see you when you're not even there and what they say. That's really very, very important because we may present a brand or an image to someone in person, and then when they visit our social media pages, it's a totally different person. And you can't really separate that on and offline brand. It's still you, it's still the same individual wherever you are. So it has to be showcasing, you know, your core values, what makes you unique, what makes you different. But you have to share the same person that you're giving here in this space in all your online spaces and position yourself as the expert in that area as well. So reputation is very important, and more so today than ever, because as Warren Buffett says, it takes 20 years to build a reputation and 5 minutes to ruin it. And if you think about that, you do things differently. But in our generation, this age of technology and information at the touch of a button, you can ruin your reputation in seconds with your digital platforms, depending on what you choose to use your platforms for. So with us now, you can ruin your reputation with a tweet, an inappropriate photo, an inappropriate comment, a voice note, a video. And we see how fast that travels, and it travels to so many people. It can go global. So we have to be really, really careful and mindful about the things that we share on our platforms. And it's not just what we post, it's what we comment on. It's what we like. Because at the end of the day, we're attaching our brand, our personal brand, to all of those things. And now we are allowing ourselves to go in spaces that we didn't intend to go, and it could be with the wrong message. So we just have to be very aware about how we utilize those spaces, because you never know who is watching you, where they are in the world, and where that message or communication is going. So creating your platform. Today's platform is really about people. It's about contacts, connections, and followers. The author of the platform, Get Noticed in a Noisy World, that's Michael Hyatt, he says, for the first time in history, non-celebrities, people like you and me, can get noticed and win big in an increasingly noisy world. And that's what digital media is all about. It gives us access to everybody. So we have to really utilize that space responsibly to showcase our value, to connect with people, to communicate. And Joma mentioned, e-commerce is such a big thing now because you could have a little store operating out of your bedroom, but you have access to the whole world. And it's the same thing with your personal brand because your post, your comment, your image is accessible globally. So you have to protect it and utilize it. So this is a big story this week, right? I'm sure a lot of people in this room have read it or seen it on social media. Kylie Jenner on the cover of Forbes magazine. How 20-year-old Kylie Jenner built a $900 million fortune in less than 3 years. Now, yes, we know the Kardashians are famous, started with TV. But if they didn't have access to these online platforms and utilize them to connect and engage directly with their customers, she would not have been able to make that $900 million. So she knew she had a platform and she used it. So ultimately, their fortunes all derive from the same place. She says, social media is an amazing platform. I have such easy access to my fans and my customers. So it just shows you the value. I'm sure many of us did not see this coming when Kylie Jenner started her lipstick line a couple of years ago. And now she's surpassing the revenues of even her sisters who should be more famous because of how she utilized and engaged those platforms. And anyone in this room can do it. Maybe not with lipsticks, but with something else. But it's to understand your audience and be able to really engage with them in an authentic way. So what does a platform provide? 3 things: visibility, amplification, and connection. So for visibility, it's really a stage in which you're elevating yourself above the crowd. So how do you do that? We're going to go through some tips to do that shortly. Amplification, it enables you to be heard above the noise as well. So when you use your platforms correctly, you can be seen, you can be heard, and you can be experienced in a really authentic and engaging way with your particular target audience, and even people who you might not believe are your target audience because now you have access to everybody. And connection. So now more than ever, we can be connected to people around the world. So I mean, even in my personal life, I follow a lot of podcasts and a lot of great people online. And I found that when I take the time to actually send them a message, a direct message, a responsible direct message, asking about more information, I always get a response. And before, you couldn't do that. You could send emails, maybe send an actual mail, or you try and reach out to the company. But now we can actually directly engage with those people that we would never normally have access to. But we just have to reach out and do it. So there are many ways for us to really connect with our audiences and to really utilize our platform. So as I said, the 3 main things that you get from utilizing your platform is visibility, amplification, and real connection. Because that's what people want. People at the end of the day like to be around people that they like. So the likability is very important. So platforms to consider. There are so many great platforms to consider. And you don't have to be on all of them. You just have to be on the right ones. The ones that will reach your audience. The ones that you're comfortable with. So some examples are, creating a personal website. I always think it's important, even if you are not in a big business, to have your own website because you control the content that's out there. I'm not sure if any of you have ever taken the time to Google yourself and see what does the world say about you right now. And if you have your own website, then you get to control that narrative. So your actual brand gets to be positioned the way you want it to be positioned, in addition to whatever else is out there, whether it's a news article or your pictures on social media, but now you also have a voice and you're including your actual brand in that conversation. Or you can start a blog. Facebook. Now with Facebook, I know depending on who your audience is, many people now, young people don't really utilize Facebook as much, but it still has a place depending on who you're trying to reach. So some people who don't have a website would actually just create a Facebook page just as additional content. So maybe you can't afford to do your website right now, but if you have a great Facebook page, you can direct them there and they can still get content, great content about you. So Instagram. So with Instagram now, there's so many opportunities with the Instagram stories and IGTV. It allows you to really literally create your own channel for you to share your content with the world. And then that gets shared by other people depending on what you're sharing and how valuable the information is. So it's, you know, what I really want you to think about is how can you use those platforms to really push your personal brand and not just to post about your day-to-day activities. So we spoke about earlier about adding value. It's using those platforms to really add value and position yourself as a thought leader or an expert in your area. So it's great to post the fun things. You know, we all want to, you know, enjoy our lives and share what we're doing, but there are so many other great ways that you can be using your social media to really stand out above everybody else. So there's Twitter, of course, there's YouTube, LinkedIn. I don't know how many, I would actually like to ask this question. How many people in this room here in Jamaica are actually on LinkedIn? Well, that's pretty awesome. And how many of you are actively on LinkedIn? And when I say actively, constantly updating your page, contributing to conversations, liking other comments that people make on posts that are related to what you do, adding to the conversation, and also sharing information that positions you as a thought leader as well, and following people that you either admire or you're in their field or you need them to know who you are. So LinkedIn is not just about putting a headshot and putting your resume. LinkedIn is really the Facebook of the business world. So now, I mean, I am on LinkedIn and I post content, but when I look at the reports sometimes that come in on my LinkedIn page with the people, the type of people that are viewing my page, people all over the world are looking at my content. But if you're not on LinkedIn, then as I said, you're not really being a part of the conversation. So you need to utilize it and not just as a holding place for your resume. People are actively using it to find people for jobs or opportunities. So use it as an opportunity to be heard and to be seen by other people. And when you have your LinkedIn page, just to say, you know, make sure you have a great headshot. That's the first thing people say. I know they say, you know, we shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but we do. We're visible people, and I am going to more click on someone with a great, happy, smiling profile than someone that doesn't look so pleasant. So you need to make sure that you look the part and you're ready. So when someone looks on your profile, they want to continue. They want to learn more about you. And then you have a very compelling profile. You know, not just, hi, I'm Naomi Garrick and I'm in PR. What's the value that you bring? So that I'm now going to read your profile and say, let me scroll down and now see your experience, because now you've kind of brought me into your story and I want to learn more about you. So use it in a very meaningful way and not just to say that you're on LinkedIn and you have your resume up. Because a lot of us don't update our LinkedIn pages. So we've moved on to 3 different jobs and it still has a job that we had 4 years ago. So Snapchat, be an online contributor. So even if you don't have your own blog, there are so many platforms that you can actually contribute to in a meaningful way, depending on what your area of expertise is. So it's for you to do the research, find those channels, and then offer your expertise so that it can be shared with everyone else. Podcasting. I mean, I don't think we have a lot of local podcasters here in Jamaica, but it is a growing trend and I don't see it going anywhere. I personally listen to maybe 15 different podcasts at different times because it's so much valuable information, and it's a great way for you to really position yourself, especially here in Jamaica, because many people aren't doing it yet. So you need to be one of the first people doing it and having great content that you're sharing with your target audience. It reaches multiple people all over the world. And it positions you as the expert, the go-to person for whatever it is that you're promoting. So vlogs, traditional media. So yes, this is a digital media conference, but you can't exclude traditional media. I still think there's value in television, radio, print. It's still content. Content is king, and you want to be in as many places as possible to reach as many people as possible. And usually what is in traditional media gets online anyway. So it's great to be in all the spaces, because realistically there are some people that still are not using digital media effectively, so you want to be able to reach everybody. Speaking engagements. Get involved. Find out what's happening in your different communities where you can also share your voice and your expertise. so that other people will see you speaking in this platform and say, hey, I saw Joma speak at this event about e-commerce. We're doing an event next year. I think he'd be a great person to include on that panel. So write a book, use your expertise and share the knowledge. So that's what we're about. We're actually here to serve and to add value. So find out what it is that you can share, and you can share your expertise, you can add value to others so they can use it in their own space as well. And then, of course, doing things like hosting your own panel discussion. So maybe you can't get on a panel, do your own thing. Get some other people that you can collaborate with and position yourselves together as experts in a particular field, sharing your views and concerns and ideas. So here are some tips that I have that I think very simple, very basic. I don't think anything I have here other than maybe doing headshots or doing your own website costs money. These are things we all have access to. So creating your own personal brand mission statement. And I think that's very important. Most of us here, we work at a company or we work in a particular industry, and wherever we are, they have a brand mission statement, they have a vision, they have goals. We should do the same for ourselves. We need to create our own personal brand mission statement that speaks about who we are, what are our core values, and what is the value that we're bringing to the table. And then also, what are some of our long-term personal and professional goals, because it all ties into your personal brand mission statement and who you are as an individual. And I just want to say that if you cannot clearly communicate who you are, then you're allowing the rest of the world to do it for you. So you have to be able to tell your own story so that other people can tell your story the right way. Get professional headshots. This is something that's very important because you can use these in multiple spaces. You can use it for your basic social media platforms, so that's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, but then you also use them for things like your LinkedIn. Or if you're speaking at an event and they need your bio and a headshot, you have to send a professional headshot. It can't be a selfie, guys. We can't have selfies as our profile pictures, especially on our LinkedIn platforms or things related to our business and our personal brand, okay? And just to add to the headshots, when you're doing them, you want to dress the part. You don't even have to dress for the role that you're in today. You want to dress for the role that you plan to be in the future. Okay? So dress for the part that you don't even have, because that's how you want the world to see you right now. So that's really important. Review your existing social media platforms and reconsider how you're using them to connect. So take a minute and do a social media cleanse. We all have smartphones. We're all online. Look at your profiles on social media. Does it really speak to who you are and the value that you offer? You can use that as a great way to just showcase your skills and abilities, even though it's something so simple, but people do review your profiles. And if you have a website, put the link to your website there so people know what you're doing and that you're not just on social media to be on social media. You actually are bringing some kind of value to the table. Google yourself. As I said, it's important. I don't think many of us do it, but you'll be surprised to see what comes up on that first page of Google when you actually do a name search, because that's what everybody else all over the world is seeing about you when they Google your name. So you should be aware of what's out there and see what other content can you add in that space so that whatever it is that you want to be on that first page ends up being on that first page because you're providing additional content. Update your social media platforms, so your profile image and your profile and the content. Review the content. I mean, sometimes we post things, we're impulsive and we post things in the moment that really don't represent who we are or represents our personal brand. So take a minute and just look through your social media pages and think, is this representative of the person that I want the world to see as my personal brand? And if there are things that are there that really don't need to be there, just delete them. It's as simple as that. And put more content that showcases who you are. Be purposeful with your posts. So it's great to post, as I said, great lifestyle type posts, but be more purposeful with what you're sharing. And it all goes back again to just adding the value of who you are and what you offer to the rest of the world. And contribute in a meaningful way that will help to position you as an expert. So when other people hear about you or see you, they can even look back on your page and say, oh yeah, this is, Naomi, and she always speaks about personal branding because that's what's on my page. So it must tie back into what people see in real life must tie back into what people see online. Can't be two separate people. It's still the same person at the end of the day. We cannot separate the two. And then get in the direct messages responsibly. So that's a great tool to really connect with people that we don't normally have access to. Use it responsibly to get connected, meet people, engage with your target audience, or even with mentors. You have access to the world, use it responsibly. And then the last thing I'd say is secure a personal website. So if you can't afford that, you can use the Facebook page, but definitely have a space that you own and you're responsible for the content so that you are sharing the appropriate information that you want the world to see about your personal brand. And I think that's it for me. Thank you so much.
That was really good, very on point, very practical, solution-oriented presentation. Love it. I know that the room is already buzzing with questions, so I'm going to open the floor. Do we have any questions? Please don't all raise your hands at once. Anybody? Yeah, good. We have Steve Billings of Sun City.
Hey, morning, Naomi.
Hi, Steve.
What's up? All right, so there are so many platforms increasing every year, every month, different platforms. How detrimental is it if you decide to take yourself away from social media? Because I am at a point, I'm always online. I have two smartphones, but my phones are now a major distraction. How detrimental is it for someone like me to do away with social media, just unplug out of the matrix?
Okay, so I actually will answer that with a question for you first. Why would you want to unplug from the matrix? Because of the distraction?
The distraction, one, and two, I like to be unique. No one is being unique anymore, you know? So me not being on social media, it is going to raise eyebrows. The average person is on social media. My little 6-year-old son is on Snapchat every day and, you know, always on my Instagram. But as it is for right now, I strongly believe that I can do more meaningful things with my time,
Okay.
you know, as opposed to actively engage on social media. And it is never ending. I'm on so many platforms and I'm being bombarded. Persons are asking questions, you know, want to know about the brand, want to know about Sun City. And even with me having someone managing the platforms for the brand, clearly it is important for me to have my personal brand, but I mean, I personally think it's just too much.
Okay, so I'll say a couple of things. I actually have a colleague that's an actor in New York, and he doesn't post very often because he believes that he gives a sense of mystery because everyone else is visible. However, he still does post, just not as often as his peers. And so I think it is very important to be on a social media platform. You don't have to be on all of them, but you have to be accessible. And maybe even if you are not the person directly, Steve, that's managing that account, in the same way that you have someone managing the Sun City Brands account, if you speak with someone or a social media coordinator or content provider that understands your personal brand, then they can speak in your voice still in an authentic way, and they can ask you the questions, but you're not doing the day-to-day posting. So it can still be managed where you are not the person and you respond to the things that you personally want to respond to. But I definitely think, especially as the head of a company, it is important to be on some kind of social media platform because you also need to be a part of the conversation. I totally understand the distraction. So for me personally, my social media notifications are off, all of them, because I'm working and like you, I need to utilize my time. So I actually set aside a time for social media. So I don't check social media in the morning. I set a time usually in the day that I will use it to respond to comments or posts that are there because, as I said, my notifications are off. So I don't see when they pop up. I don't see when someone likes a picture. I don't see when someone asks me a question. So I use that time, whether it's 20 minutes, 15 minutes, to go through my platforms, respond to questions, post something new, and then I move on with the rest of my life. But I think it is very relevant now to have some kind of presence in that digital space because that's where the world is going. That's where they're going to go to find you. They're not going to pick up the phone and call you. They're going to go and look on your Instagram page, your Facebook page, if you have a website. So I would say if you don't want to deal with that on a day-to-day basis, you either set a time aside to do social media, or you get some kind of assistant or intern that can work with you on building your online brand and then being able to create content that you don't have to be posting every day, but there's still things relevant to what you're doing and who you are in that space as well.
So in a nutshell, you're advising me not to come off social media.
Yeah,
I would say no. If you, yeah, especially because you're in the media industry, I think it's important for you to be there as well.
Okay.
All right. All right, so we have to pick you up.
Hi everyone, wonderful presentation.
Thank you.
My question is, what if you don't want to build your personal brand really, but you want to focus on providing content for your business? What if in all these platforms you don't really want to post about yourself or write much about yourself, but content for your company?
I think that's fine, but we have to also remember that, especially now, because we all have access to you, people want to get to know the individual behind the brands as well. So definitely use it to promote your product or service. But on that same platform, you can put maybe just a little bit about yourself because people want to know who they're working with. It's the same way now with companies and CEOs. A lot of people choose a company because of who the CEO is. And so they want to get to know who they're working for and what your values are and what your beliefs are, because that's a whole part of buying into your brand, even if it's a product or a service, you know. So they want to know that they are supporting someone or something that is of like minds with what they believe as well. So I think more so now than ever before, people want to get to know the faces behind the brands too. It doesn't mean you have to expose yourself or provide information that you don't want to share with the public, but it's just important to have some kind of presence online as well. So I do believe it's important.
All right, thank you.
All right, we have a question right behind you, gentlemen.
Morning.
Good morning.
From Global Vision Media, Barrington. I'd like to know if it is recommended that when you have social norms, you bring them on social media to help to publicize it or fight it, like in abortion cases, animal rights, whales, like you have violence against kids. Now you realize in the last few months, you've been having a lot of videos coming out that usually never was, of violence against certain set of people, kids, women. But there are those who are saying this shouldn't come on social media. You should take it to the court. But the court says they won't know about it unless you write about. So we would get some cases where you got to do something about this. Look at what's going on. And you have to think twice before you go out there, because when it goes viral, it's a different case entirely. You might get yourself into trouble.
Absolutely.
Would you recommend that when we're going to do something about something that is not totally legal, abortion right now is being fought in the States, and they are using social media, not even the media itself, social media. They have right now 200 million, and 80% of that are women who are winning the war to keep abortion afloat. But we have Donald Trump, just one call and says, cut it out. So do you recommend that if we have circumstances like that, you could use social media?
Well, I almost feel like you answered the question because if, as you said, they're reaching 200 million people, that's 200 million more people that now know about this cause. So it really depends on the situation. As you said, in some cases, there can be legal ramifications. So you have to post responsibly. However, social media gives us the power to connect with the rest of the world. So in a case like that, it's to build awareness. And maybe if it wasn't on social media, you wouldn't even know about it. So that's one of the great things. It's a good thing and a bad thing, because people will post content that goes viral that maybe should not have been shared. But once it goes viral, I mean, once it's posted, there's really not much you can do after that. But it is a great platform to share and build awareness around great causes, whatever they may be. But you, as the person that's creating and sharing the content, you have to think that through if you're being responsible with what you're sharing. So I would say yes. And as you've already said, it is a platform that works and it reaches millions with one click of a button.
All right. Do we have any more questions? Yes, we have a gentleman right here in the.
Good morning,
Good
everyone.
morning.
All right. I had a discussion recently about posting online, and the discussion was really about posting responsibly as opposed to actually being authentic. Now, what would be your advice as it relates to bridging the gap between those two, which is posting responsibly and being authentic?
Okay, well, the first thing I would say is be authentic. People can see through something when it's not. And then it's really not who you are. But I actually believe in both. I believe in being authentic with your personal brand and also posting responsibly because it's still your personal brand at the end of the day. So an example, I know we all engage influencers for different things in today's world. And I recently saw a post with an influencer promoting a brand of rum. She doesn't drink alcohol. That's not authentic. So you have to think about your brand as well and how other people see you. So people that know her know she doesn't drink alcohol, but she's doing a post to promote a brand of rum that she doesn't even consume. That's not being authentic with your brand. So we have you, the individual, I think you have a responsibility of showcasing the correct brand to the world, and you have a responsibility to be responsible for your brand as well and your own reputation. You know, I always hear people talking about, well, the difference between having a public profile and a private profile. You're online, your profile is not private. So even if your Instagram page is private, Joma and I may not be friends, but somebody else in the audience is my friend, that's a friend of Joma's, and that's how I get access to Joma's page. So it's something that we tend not to think about. We think, well, it's my private page, so I can put whatever I want on it. It's online. Anybody can have access to it. So you have to be responsible with your brand. And as I said, being authentic is everything. So I hope that kind of answers your question.
Thanks much.
Okay. I have a question. As a user, Naomi, am I to be caught up with the idea of perception from somebody who's going to look at my post of a one-off post, well, of a post that I know I go before my narrative and I've decided that this is what I want to say and it now represents me. But should I be that caught up on the fact that somebody has now gathered a perception of me from this post and it is now going to be the dictating factor for anything, for engagement?
That's a very interesting question. Just to go back to what I said, the authenticity and being responsible for your brand is important. It's your reputation at the end of the day. However, because we post content on social media, everybody feels that they have an opinion to who we are and what we post. And so we just have to be mindful of that as well. So if you are comfortable with what you post and this is your personal brand and you stand behind it, then that's fine. And you should be able to address those. Actually, you don't even have to address people if you don't want to. It depends on the content and what you're posting, but you just have to be true to who you are. You have to be true to who you are, and people are going to say any and everything because social media gives them direct access to you. But it's how you take that content, the feedback that they give you, and you have to determine whether it's good feedback or bad feedback, if it's something you need to adjust or look at in the future. But at the end of the day, the decision relies with you, and you are the brand manager for your brand. We actually all are brand managers for the most important brand in the world, and it's our own personal brand. So we have to treat it like that.
All right, got you. Are there any other questions here before we head on? Okay, we still have another question from the gentleman there, yes.
Yes,
Barrington.
you virtually touched on something I wanted to ask. Good post, bad post, but when it comes to monetization of your posts, I do believe quite a lot of people monetize their pages. and the contents gives them a certain economic gains. But then the contents usually is the bad ones that give you the good, the good gains. The good ones, they don't go that far. Now, when you have an issue where, by conscience sake, I'm making something good on this bad content, and it's on YouTube. Well, recently there was something, and it's a friend of mine that actually saw the situation. He had 4.2 million clicks over the weekend for a violent crime that he posted. But fortunately, he was monetized, and by the end of 3 weeks, he got something good out of it. So is monetization a form of, too much personal gain instead of actually placing the issue on we are dealing with the facts?
So what I would say for that is definitely a personal decision, and it really depends on the individual and their own conscience when they do that. So I think social media provides a great opportunity and platform to make money, and why not if you can. However, the type of content that you choose to solicit or post or share really boils down to who you are as an individual and what you want to associate with your personal brand. So that becomes a very personal decision when you choose to share content or share information about a brand that maybe doesn't really represent who you are. You really have to think about that and make that decision for yourself as an individual. That's definitely an individual choice.
All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, Debbie.
Turn before we
Debbie, don't leave her.
turn over to our friends in India. No, Raj, are you here with us?
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're not going
Oh,
to
really? Yeah.
Thank you.
It's personal branding. I'm myself a person. I want to brand myself. So, Naomi, a great thought on,
Did you enjoy the
all the facts and figures that you brought in. So, interesting topic, and we have a lot of participants, lined up for questions. So, Naomi, we're going to buy your time more. So the first question is about, your advice or your tips and tricks on managing multiple platforms all at the same time, and also maintaining reputation, because, going along with the yesterday, we had Judy, who also talked about reputation, having in multiple platforms. So this question is from Munisha on your tips and tricks to maintain multiple platforms and also to maintain reputation in all those big platforms on personal branding.
Okay, great question. I think the first thing would be to, in the same way that I had said, to do a personal brand vision statement. I think it's important to look at the platforms. Well, one, you may not need to be on all the platforms either. It really depends on who your target audience is and where they are. So maybe you could focus on a few platforms and not necessarily all of them. Two, I think it's very important to really define what you're using the platform for, because that really helps to determine where your content should be and how it is managed. Because yes, it does become very difficult to manage multiple platforms, and then that's when you maybe need to build out your content strategy that has really key guidelines for the purpose of each platform you're using and why you're using it. So then you can probably get someone to come on board and help you to manage those multiple pages. I myself, I manage 4 platforms on my own, 4 actual distinct pages. And I have to be looking at bringing in someone now to help me to manage 2 of them so that I can really focus my energy on 2 of the other platforms. But I think if you build out the strategy that really breaks down why you're using these platforms in the
Thank you, Naomi. So this question also answers for
get support to help you.
Munira, who had the question about, is it necessary to be on all platforms? So you already answered that question. So we have the next question from Jason. What is the best medium to build personal brand in a quick time?
In a very quick time, I would say get online as soon as possible. Find the right channels and start building out your own personal branding profile. If you can't afford to do a website, get a website done, because then at least you are able to put in your own keywords. So when people are searching for you or a particular topic, then you can come up in that search. So I would say get a website done, a personal website. I know there are some pages, I think it's about.me, and where you can actually just build a web page that has all of your content. So there are a lot of free platforms that you can use to do that first, and then start using your social media platforms as well to support what is on your website. Using keywords is very important as well, because I might not know your name, so I might not be looking for you specifically, but I may be looking for a topic of interest or a key topic area. And so if you use the right keywords attached to whatever it is you're posting, and that could be on social
All right,
media,
Naomi,
or
thank you
on
so
your
much.
website,
And
then people are able to
I
find
also have the question from Susmit. It's what's the role of Pinterest in personal branding? And is there any advice that you can give about how to use Pinterest in personal branding?
Okay, that's an interesting question, because I personally don't use Pinterest, but I know quite a few people that still do. So it really depends on what industry you're in. So I find that it works really well for people that have great visual content. So if you are a chef and you have recipes, or if you're an a designer or photographer, then I think Pinterest is an excellent platform. I have a colleague, her name is Jessica, and her page is Jessica in the Kitchen. She's from Jamaica, and she has actually been asked by Pinterest to come and share her best practices, because her platform on Pinterest is reaching millions of users all over the world from right here in Jamaica. So it is a very powerful platform, depending on the type of content, but it usually works really well for really compelling visual content. So that's what I would say about Pinterest. It's an awesome platform, and I didn't realize how awesome it was until I heard Jessica speak about her reach. Her reach is not even in Jamaica. I believe over 63% of her followers are from the United States, and maybe 4% from Jamaica, and the rest is from all over the world.
All right.
Yes,
So is there any
Pinterest
suggestion that you can
the running
give on handling
for helping
online
build your
bullying
brand.
and negative content across any social media sites? So
Yes, I would say respond quickly and be a part of the conversation. Don't allow the conversation to continue without you. That is what is really important. So I mean, even here in Jamaica, we had a recent crisis with one of our companies here, not mine personally, just a company here in Jamaica. And what I was very impressed with was how they responded, not just in traditional media, but on the online space. You have to be able to respond and be a part of the conversation, so that other people aren't carrying the story for you and putting out whatever content they want. You have to respond, and even as it relates to not just your personal brand, but just brands in general. When there's a complaint, even if you don't have the answer yet, just acknowledge it so that they know that you're there, I've heard you, and I'll get back to you. And it's the same with your personal brand. Someone has something to say, maybe you take the conversation into a direct message so that this conversation doesn't continue in that platform that everybody else has access to. But you
thank you so much, Naomi. That's a lot of message, and we're going to pick it up, some of the takeaways there.
So much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together one more time for Naomi Garrick, Garrick Communications. Make sure that you cop her book. It's The PR Chick. It's available online, and I'm sure she'll have the Audible version very soon for those of us who enjoy Audible.